afternoon, and what a lovely audience we've got for all those performers. It makes a big difference to any performance, and it encourages them to give of their best. So thank you for that. The performances we've had today have been stunning in many ways. We've had some wonderful moments, and some of the performers have actually moved us to an extent that they are showing so much promise. It's wonderful to hear. One thing I would say, though, we come from Reigate rather, but not one member from the Rotary Club has actually produced anybody there. We're going to have a word with them. Next time, Redhill and Reigate should produce some musicians, because we know there are a lot of musicians there, and we need to make sure that they contribute to this very successful event. Now, Margaret and I are going to alternate to an extent with the instrumental performers. And I'll start with the horn player, Brendan Connellan. He produces a well-focused tone with a confident rhythmical outlook and approach. He's sensitive to dynamics and musical features which stood out in his performance, and he's got a lot of potential there, bearing in mind that one of the works, particularly the second one, had a lot of intervals, and pitching intervals on a brass instrument is not an easy matter, but his sense of intonation was very, very good. The next person that I'm going to talk about is Heather Brooks. And here we had a harpist of a very distinguished quality. She played with confidence, and the opening work, the partita of the Bach, opening with bold chords and a wide range of dynamics, which are very important because it gives so much character to any performance. And the impromptu caprice was given a great sense of musical momentum and character, and she understood the works from her heart, giving us a superb performance. It was outstanding in many ways. It was lovely to hear, and it's wonderful to hear harpists anyway. It's a lovely instrument she was playing on. And then Margaret will go on and...
Oh, you missed one.
No, I've got two more to do.
Yes, I do. Yes, right, okay. I'm going to talk about Sarah on her cello. A lovely warm sound, a real cello sound that went right through to our hearts. A really good musician, an incredible sense of performance and communication. Now, the Schumann, I just thought you could shape the phrases a little more and just dovetail the phrases. If you could make your diminuendos match your crescendos so that the phrases rise and fall, and then you start the next phrase where that phrase has died so that you could grow. That would make a huge difference to that melodic line in that Schumann. It was beautifully played, but you can just tweak it to make it more heartrending. That was a lovely performance, though. And the Brahms was a lovely contrast. So you had an excellent recital program there. Again, your rhythmic shaping, if you're doing those triplets, yada da 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 da, they don't all want to be the same. Yada da 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 da, yada da 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 da. We'll give it more longer shapes and overall shape to the whole thing, and give it a sense of momentum. And I thought that yada da 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 could be a little bit crisper, that little rhythm. But I thought you communicated so well with the audience, and if you can just think about the things I've said today, you will lift your performance right into the top bracket. I thought that was a very commendable performance. Edmund did two, so I shall do two now, because he cut me short here. Timothy Rumsey on piano. What a difficult piece to start with for a pianist. Most pianists will put that piece in the middle or the end of the programme when they've warmed up. And actually to start, when you're feeling slightly tense and nervous, to start with those detailed movement in the right hand, I thought that's quite hard. Again, everybody this afternoon has been a fantastic musician with potential, they're all musicians. We haven't had anybody who couldn't communicate their musicianship. And I thought your sense of performance and your arrival, your bowing, etc. was wonderful. Now, if those detailed semiquavers at the beginning in the top part, lower your wrists a little bit because you were just a bit up, so that when you were playing on top of the keys and the notes weren't all speaking. If you can drop your wrist a little bit, relax it, and play to the bottom of the key, you will find they all come out. Easy said than done when you're feeling slightly nervous. I thought we could have done with more voicing a little bit between the parts. And don't forget, when you're shaping a phrase, you don't just shape the melodic line, you can actually shape the accompanying line underneath. It's worth deciding how you're shaping a phrase and then practicing the accompaniment part, knowing where you're going to and where you're coming away from, so that your accompaniment matches your melodic line in the other hand. But again, I thought a sense of commitment and performance is already there. And I do commend you for playing that really challenging piece today and starting with it. Very brave. I'll hand you back to it.
One of the main things with performing, and generally speaking, we saw performers who actually communicated with the audience with their eyes. That's very important, because when you're performing, you're telling a story. And if you tell a story, reading a story to an audience, and you're looking down at the floor all the time, you're not going to have much feedback. And so it's very important for any performer, despite the nerves, don't worry about the nerves. The audience will appreciate your playing anyway. But just build up your confidence, look at the audience. You don't have to look at the audience individually, that's not the point. Just look at them as an audience, and you'll feel that what you're performing is going out to them. This was particularly the case with James Crawley, who played very well on the guitar. He had a good sense of rhythm and pulse in the first piece, and he also brought out the melodic details in the second section, where the guitar takes over from the accompaniment. And there was a sense of rhythm and ensemble in the second piece, which was confidently realised. But he needs to remember he's performing. Don't look down at the instrument or the floor. You know what the instrument feels like, where the fingers go. You just go for the audience and let them know what you're doing. It will actually make a much better performance, much more convincing. And just think about doing that. Practice with friends, practice any opportunity that you have for performing in concerts, and you just develop that skill. Get over that little hurdle and you'll be there. But nonetheless, that was a very interesting performance, and the improvisation too was impressive in that work. So well done, James. And then James Drew on cello. This had a very confident start in the Haydn concerto. However, there were tendencies at times to rush semiquaver passages. When you get repeated quavers particularly, or semiquavers, don't let the last semiquaver be rushed or chopped short, because it actually upsets the phrasing. The phrasing needs to be continuous and even. So just bear that in mind. And also the intonation does need watching. There are moments when the intonation was a little bit wide of the mark. Not seriously so, but it's enough to be noticeable. So just listen very carefully to what you're playing all the time and be very aware of the intonation that you're producing in the way of tone. But there were some very good features about the performance in the concerto, and there was much to enjoy overall. Work at details. It's the details that matter, and you'll find that that will bring the rest of the performance up. One other piece of information is when people are practicing and rehearsing for performances, the general tendency is for them to actually practice from beginning to end, and so on. There's a much better way of doing things. Once you've got an idea of the overall picture of a work, then start to work from the back, going back in sections, because 9 times out of 10, towards the end of any performance, there's fatigue which will set in. and the performance will actually suffer, go down. But if you practice the end and then work backwards, you know what the end entails, and you're practicing it from a fresh situation. And you can then build up on that, and then keep going in stages backwards. Then when you feel you've got the work under your fingers, play it all the way through. Try it. It may work very successfully. And one other detail, we know that so many musicians loathe, for one reason or another, playing scales and arpeggios, but they make up music. If you didn't have scales, you didn't have arpeggios, you wouldn't have music. They are pieces of music in their own right. For those who find it hard to memorize or to learn or to practice, and try this, don't always start at the bottom of a scale, go up to the top and down again, as if it's a mechanical job. It's not, it's music. Start at the top, go down to the bottom, and go back to the top. In different dynamics. Start in the middle, go down to the bottom, go up to the top, and finish in the middle. And do the same, starting in the middle, going up to the top, down to the bottom, and finish in the middle. It's extraordinary how much more success there is in learning scales and arpeggios. Use your imagination. Improvisation there will help you as well. So just bear those few comments in mind. And lastly, the one I'm going to talk about is Daniel Pengelly, the flautist. There was a very sensitive start here to his piece. It was poised and controlled. The low notes on the flute are devils to get out. They are devils, because there's no real tone quality which is easily obtained on the flute. You've got to work at it. The first octave has got to be worked on so that you can produce a tone which has got a bloom on it. Despite the dynamics, it will generally tend to be soft. So work at that, especially in a big auditorium, because it will just get lost. But there's potential there for a very fine performance. And the Great Train Race, my goodness, what extraordinary potential there. A lot of interesting things going on. 2 notes, harmony being performed. A lot of instrumentalists, woodwind instrumentalists, have to be able to do that these days. Producing one sound on the flute and then producing it either with humming or harmonics. And it's one thing that Daniel's going to master very well. So well done with all that. It's very effective. So those are my own comments so far.
Right. Now, 2 more for me to do. Sophie, can I wear Sophie? Sophie, right, hello. Now, I thought your performance was exceptionally confident and fluent. Well done, very good. And your posture is superb. You've really got relaxation and control of your spine up the back. It's absolutely fantastic. The handle was very sparky, with good rhythm. Make sure your hands are absolutely together. Use your ears. Just now and again there was a bit of ba-dum-ba-dum instead of dum-dum-dum. So just keep that really, really tight. That was lovely. And as I said in the cellist Brahms, a little bit more rhythmic shaping so that you ping the notes that want to be kingpins and let the rest come away. It'll give it just a bit more a bit more momentum. The Brahms, you need to paragraph the Brahms a little more. Audiences are very slow and a little stupid, and they need feeding with the information. So when you come to the end of a paragraph or an idea, give it a bit more breathing space. The pause in bar 8, just a long one, and then grow into the next bit, and the audience will have time to breathe with you, all right? Give them time. They need time to take the information in. I think all the sections could have been, and the phrases could have been paragraphed just a little bit more. And again, keep the dynamics and shaping in the supporting part as well as the melodic part. But I did like your melodic voicing. I thought that was excellent. Chopin again, more shaping, within the parts, and more dovetailing the phrases, a little bit square-ended, some of them, and then the next phrase starting with a jerk. Just think about that. And bar 43, a little bit more time joining the high G and then to the a tempo. Just again, a bit more paragraphing. Give them more time to take a deep breath and go. And then my last one, Helena Michaels, is she? Yes, there. Right. Very, very, very promising, outstanding performance. Don't worry about memory loss. When I was a student, I went to the Queen Elizabeth Hall, part of the Festival Hall complex, and it was Benjamin Britten conducting with the English Chamber Orchestra, with Jose Luis Garcia leading, and they actually got lost, and they had to start again. And that was, they all had music, they weren't even playing from memory. They actually lost the thread of the plot, and they had to start. I wouldn't have liked to have been in the green room at the end of that performance, because I can imagine there's some pithy words said. But we all so used to hearing perfect performances on CDs and YouTube and so on. Don't worry, that's part of performance, right? You picked up so well afterwards. You didn't panic, you did really well. Now, your playing is stunning. It's really stylish. It's beautifully shaped. It's beautifully voiced. You've got different control of different tone colours for the different moods of the music. And in every aspect, I think you're really outstanding potential. The Bach had precise rhythmic shaping, lovely changes of touch to match the colour and moods, and you gave it a real sense of style. And the Chopin, the opening bars just bring out the bass notes in the audience. I mean, we were right at the front, but we couldn't feel we just couldn't feel the beat until you got into the melody. Just establish that opening just a little bit more. And bar 2, where the melody comes in, just a bit more diminuendo as you come down on the long note. Before you come down, diminuendo is more on that phrase. Excellent octave playing, absolutely outstanding, clean as a whistle, very musical, and just at the end of the Chopin, it just to me, for that piece, went a little bit harsh on those top high fortissimo forte passages. Just a bit harsh. Your wrists just tightened a little bit, I think, with the effort of communication. But I highly commend you for your very, very, very good performance. I think that's us done, isn't it? Yes. I think we hand over to the vocals.